everyone, and welcome to the HBCU Gameday Fastbreak. I'm Tali Carr, and joined by Wally Pitt. We're in the studio this week, and Wally, last weekend you were in Greensboro for the Aggie Eagle. You and I are on the same page. It's still a classic. That was kind of the emotional midpoint of the season. Now we're getting ready for the stretch run in the MEAC, right?
Oh, yeah. You can't beat February hoops in college basketball. So, this is what it's all about. Get all of the fun games out of the way, and let's get down to the nitty-gritty.
All right, and Stephen J. Gaither, he is back in Greensboro this week. The Hampton Pirates, soon to be members of the Big South. Another MEAC battle for the time being against A&T. Stephen.
Appreciate the assist, Tally. It's Stephen J. I'm coming to you from Corbett Center, a.k.a. Club Corbett in Greensboro, North Carolina. A&T against Hampton. Now, it wasn't as packed or as lit as it was last week when Wally was here for the Central game, but a great game nonetheless if you're an Aggie fan. North Carolina A&T got off to a slow start. Hampton kind of brought it to him early, but Denzel King came off the bench with a lot of energy. They got the ball down low to the bars McGowan, Philly Alojabi. They got some outside shots hitting. Just a crazy first half run to take control of the game. I mean, they hit threes that were making the fans drop their phones, so it was really exciting basketball. North Carolina A&T gets the win 92-84, and they show why that they are right now on top of our D1 HBCU basketball rankings. So incredible for 14 wins now for a team that only won 3 games last year, all year, and only won Division I. So we'll see if the Aggies have what it takes to keep it up. But right now, I'm going to keep up the fast break to you guys.
Okay, thank you, Steve. Hey, we got some pretty good action to show you here between Bethune-Cookman and Coppin State. Don't you wish you had ups like those? Man. Bethune-Cookman with the win. Norfolk State, anything you can do, I can do better. I don't know. Which one did you like better? Both pretty impressive. Both teams with the win. Norfolk State over Morgan, 76-65. Howard and FAMU, that was pretty exciting. Our DeLon Sellers was there. DeLon, what happened?
With HBCU Game Day, I'm DeLon Sellers coming to you live from the Burr in Washington, D.C. after an amazing day of MEAC play. We had men's and women's basketball with Howard and FAMU. First up, we had the women. The women dominated most of the game and ended up prevailing over FAMU 76-65. Howard pretty much had their foot on the gas the entire game. When FAMU would try to come back, they would make sure that they put the foot right back on the gas and would not let them win. In men's hoops, we had a much more competitive game with fluctuating lead changes, clutch buckets, and scores coming down to free throws. It all came down to the 2 scorers, C.J. Williams and R.J. Cole. C.J. Williams, who joined the 1,000-point club tonight, ended up finishing with 22 points. R.J. Cole ended up finishing with 24 points. Howard gained the lead, and they won in overtime, 83-80 over FAMU.
All right, thanks, DeLon. C.J. Williams for Howard. He's just a sophomore and already 1,000 career points. Boy, that was quick. Savannah State over South Carolina State. We told you about North Carolina A&T and Hampton, and North Carolina Central over Delaware State. Let's take a look at those highlights. Delaware State at North Carolina Central, and the Hornets come out stinging. Jonathan Walker off the glass, 21-7 Del State. I think Central might be in a little bit of an A&T hangover. Walker again for 3. What's going on? But North Carolina Central wakes up, coming back strong. Reggie Gardner Jr., side of the backboard the first time, bottom of the nets the second time. North Carolina Central with their first lead of the game. Rashawn Davis, 2 of his 23 points, rewarded for running the floor. We'll go to the second half. Gardner Jr. again with the long jumper. North Carolina Central rebounds from an early deficit. They come back to win. They beat Del State 72-61. Winners on the women's side, Bethune-Cookman over Coppin, Morgan State just barely over Norfolk, Howard over FAMU, South Carolina State gets the win over Savannah State, Hampton over A&T, that was a good one, 63-51, and North Carolina Central with the win over Delaware State. And a quick look at your current MEAC standings heading into Sunday. All right, thanks again to Stephen and Delon hanging out in the MEAC. Wally, A&T, North Carolina Central, they're still, along with Savannah State, two of the top 3 teams in the MEAC. They're going to have one more meeting. That'll be fun later in the season. We're going to have some fun in the SIAC later this week, but we have some bigger matchups ahead of that, or some big matchups at least. Now look, we're talking about Morehouse and Clark Atlanta. They're going to meet on Thursday, but Morehouse lost a little steam when they lost their first game of the year to Claflin earlier this week. Now Clark Atlanta wants to keep that momentum going. Wally, you had your eyes on them today. A very tough game against Benedict.
Oh yeah, Benedict is that team. They're kind of on the outside looking in the SIAC. You know, Morehouse getting a lot of love, Clark's getting a lot of love. So Benedict is kind of like, you know, they're kind of like the angry little brother. They're like, you know, where's our shine? You know, we've had a good season too. So, you know, Clark came in, they were ready to go. It was a great SIAC game. Clark didn't have any rust coming off the bus. You know, they came out, put up a lot of points, but Benedict rallied, brought it back, and ended up being a really close game at the half. So we're going to take a look at not only those highlights, but we're going to check out the scores and the standings from the rest of the SIAC.
In men's hoops, Kentucky State gets a 2-point win over Spring Hill 75-73. Miles beats Lemoyne-Owen 67-63. Fort Valley beats Payne 66-58. Lane gets an overtime win against Tuskegee 66-62. Clark Atlanta takes their number 21 national ranking north to Columbia to face a no-slouch Benedict Tiger squad who had won 8 in a row at home, but it won't looking so good early. Clark starts out hot with a 20-5 run. Benedict counters and finishes the half on a 15-3 run of their own as Clark held on to a 1-point lead going into halftime, and they were still clutching that 1-point lead after Cairo Brown hits the big 3-pointer with 1 minute 10 seconds remaining in the game. But Clark's Damian Davis, he gets past his defender, hits the George Gervin scoop shot, and puts the Panthers back up 3 points. But Cairo's not just the capital of Egypt, he's also the guy out there catching the whole Clark Atlanta squad sleeping as he hits them with a nice up and under layup. He led the Tigers with 18 points on the night. Clark still up by 1 point, 70-69. Benedict has a chance to take the lead, but the Panthers not having none of that. They get the turnover on the inbounds, and Clark Atlanta gets the win 71-69. The Panthers, now 20-1, are looking like the big cats in the SIAC. And Central State gets the 81-74 win over Wilberforce. Time for the ladies of the SIAC. Spring Hill gets the 88-71 win over Kentucky State. Lemoyne-Owen beats Miles 62-54. Fort Valley 78, Payne 73. Lane beats Tuskegee 86-73. Back on the highlight train, we had another good one from Columbia. The Lady Panthers came in holding down the top spot in the SIAC, but Benedict gave them all they could handle. The Lady Tigers were up 54-50 with 6 minutes left to play after this Ayana Bay lay-in. Clark Atlanta was just too much down the stretch. They go on a 9-2 run late in the fourth that propels them to the 64-61 win on the road. Naomi Holloway scores 20 as Clark Atlanta moves to 12-2 and keeps the top spot in the SIAC. So Clark maintains control of the SIAC with Claflin chomping at their heels. And Central State and Spring Hill are the class of the West Division. It's really going to get interesting down the stretch for the women of the SIAC. Now the Beasts of the East are going to fight it out this week when Clark Atlanta faces Morehouse. Claflin and Benedict are down but not out as they just need to keep on winning and keep their eyes on the SIAC tourney. Lane and Central State lead the way out west, with Spring Hill and Kentucky State holding on to hope.
You're watching the HBCU Gameday Fastbreak. I'm Tolly Carr along with Wally Pitt. Wally, still to come in the show, we got a couple of 1,000-point scores. Somebody messed around and got a triple-double. But first, I have a very important question to ask. What is your favorite cake, Wally?
Ooh, my favorite cake. Now that's a tough one. It's gonna be something double chocolate, you know, birthday cake, real spongy birthday cake, chocolate icing. Let's get it.
Well, look, I ask you that because UAPB in the SWAC, you know what they're doing, Wally, and nobody thought they would be doing?
What's that?
They are eating cake all day long. They are the leaders in the SWAC, and when I told you that someone messed around and got a triple-double, it was Mr. McKnight and not Brian McKnight. But he sang a song today. Let's check out the scores in the SWAC. Okay, more on that triple-double from Martavius McKnight. 30 points, 12 of 17 shooting, 10 rebounds, 10 assists, and even better, UAPB now has a 2-game lead in first place in the SWAC. They get the win over A&M 80-62. Other scores, Grambling State and Southern. Ooh, that one was close. Big rivalry game, 69-68. Here's how it all went down. Final second, Southern had a chance to tie things up at the free throw line, and then a chance at a three-pointer to win it after missing the free throw. That was no good as well. Tigers hold on for a 69-68 win. Prairie View A&M, where have all the Cowboys gone for Texas Southern? My pick to win the SWAC. Prairie View, the Panthers get the win, 96-82. Gary Blackston led all scores with 29 points. Jackson State with the win over Alcorn, 60-57. And Alabama State, their second road win of the season, takes overtime down in the Valley, but they get it done, 89-85. Taking a quick look at those SWAC women's scores, Alabama State, they sweep Mississippi Valley State, 79-62. Prairie View, hey, another sweep there as well over Texas Southern. Grambling, oh boy, Southern, not a good Saturday. They lose 2 to the G-men and G-women, 79-71 there. Jackson State over Alcorn, and UAPB over Alabama A&M. Hey, the Brooms were just doubleheader sweeps in the SWAC. Let's take a look at the standings real quick. Okay, let's check in on Tennessee State really fast. They are on the road, Eastern Kentucky, and double trouble for the Tigers in a good way. The women get their first road win of the season. Some late free throws late in that game. Woo! Paid dividends, 59-58 winners. And the men, they had a little easier time of it, 73-60. All right, let's go down to the Gulf Coast, baby. We're going to go check out Dillard and Philander Smith. I understand there was some trash talk on Twitter. Imagine that. Somebody said something about some roadkill. They ate those words. 112-74, Dillard with the win, and Talladega rolls on, bump drafting down at Southern University at New Orleans. They get the 77-55 win. Those are the men's scores from the Gulf Coast Athletic Conference. Let's check out the ladies. Dillard gets the win over Philander Smith. Hey, shout out to Dillard. They had a couple of 1,000-point scores for their careers. Shaylin Moore and Patrick Thompson of the women's and men's team, respectively, both scoring 1,000 for their careers. So congratulations there. Talladega with the win on the girls' side as well, and Stillman gets the win over Xavier.
Some good stuff in the SWAC tonight. We're going to take the ball and pass it on off to the CIAA, who had another good night. On the women's side, it's probably the biggest story. Virginia Union being upset by Chowan, their first loss of the night.
Wow.
You heard us talking about Johnson C. Smith on the podcast. They kept rolling. I got asked on Twitter today who I thought would win between them and Shaw. I said Shaw would win in a close one, and I could not have been more wrong. So I'll take that lump I'll take that lump myself. But a good night in the CIAA.
Hey, as much as you've been hanging out in Brave Boy, your people are going to get you, man. They have a 5-game winning streak, and you're pulling against them. You're picking against them.
I always thought that seeing Savon Goodman would disrupt things once. I feel like a lot of the teams have needed to see him once before they can really know what he's all about. But just like I've been talking about, that press defense, the press and run, I mean, Smith has just not been letting anyone get comfortable. It's like no matter the matchup, no matter what you do well, it doesn't matter if you can't get the ball up the court and stop them from throwing alley-oops and hitting threes on the break. So Smith, you got to give Coach Joyner all the credit, because it's a lot of coaching and getting guys to buy in, and they're executing right now. And Golden Bulls out there rolling in the South.
All right, let's take a look at some more exciting scores from the CIAA and that big upset on the women's side with Virginia Union.
We had the top 2 teams in the CIAA Southern Division going head-to-head in the historic C.C. Spalding Gymnasium in Raleigh, North Carolina, as Shaw played host to Johnson C. Smith. Smith comes out with some more of that press D that's been giving CIAA coaches gray hairs. The Golden Bulls go on a 15-2 spurt right off the tip. Shaw Bears would hit a couple of shots to close the deficit back to 6, but that's about as close as they would get in this one. Smith would go up by as much as 22 in the first half. Casey Minor scores 13 in the first, including this hammer. The Shaw Bears had no answer in the second half. Robert Davis scores a game-high 25, and Johnson C. Smith gets the easy win, 93-83, and they move to 5-0 at the top spot of the CIAA Southern Division. Now let's take a look at the rest of the action from around the CIAA. Starting it off with the men, we got Chowan getting a big victory against Virginia Union, 83-70. We saw how Johnson C. Smith put it on Shaw. They win 93-83. St. Aug gets it going in the right direction with a big win against Fayetteville State, 75-53. Livingstone gets a much-needed CIAA South victory. They beat Winston-Salem State, 79-73. Bowie State closes out a tough one against Elizabeth City State. The Bulldogs win 75-70. Now let's take a trip up to Lincoln and check out some highlights from their game against Virginia State. The Trojans looking to bounce back from a tough road loss against Shaw earlier this week. Richard Granberry goes for 11 points and 8 boards. Virginia State shoots 68% from the field as they hold off Lincoln in PA, 60-52. On to the women's side of the CIAA, we got an upset alert as Chowan gives Virginia Union their first loss of the season, 85-79. Let's go back out to Raleigh to see what happened between the Lady Bulls and the Lady Bears. Johnson C. Smith had Shaw on their tails. The Golden Bulls up 42-41, and then Smith just put their foot on the gas. Kendall Adams drops 18. Her teammate Lazara Bowens dropped 17 as Smith went on to get the dub, 78-60. Fayetteville State picks up a big win against St. Augustine, 70-54. Winston-Salem State beats Livingstone, 83-72. Bowie State gets the close 63-61 win over Elizabeth City, and Virginia State beats Lincoln 76-71. Here go the updated CIAA standings. Bowie State keeping the pressure on VSU for the top spot in the North, while Virginia Union needs to make up some ground. They fall behind the top spot by 2 games. In the South, the Golden Bulls are stampeding through the division at 5-0. St. Augustine recalls the number 2 spot from Shaw, and Livingstone and Fayetteville State are still on the outside looking in but have a lot to play for. And Winston, what's going on in the 3-3-6 right now? The Rams in desperate need of a win. The Lady Panthers still in the top spot in the North Division after Chowan puts them on notice. VSU, Lincoln, and Bowie still with a lot to play for. They're only 2 games back of the top spot. The Southern Division still very competitive for the ladies. Fayetteville State's leading the way, but Winston's 1 game back, and Smith and St. Aug ain't that far out either as we inch closer to the CIAA tournament.
Well, thanks for hanging out with us here on the HBCU Gameday Fast Break. Before we go, I'd like to remind you that you can watch this on your big screen at home. All you have to do is download the Roku app from the Roku channel store. It's absolutely free. Or you can download the Amazon Fire TV app that we have. Just go to the Amazon channel store. Wally, it's free, right? Free 99 all day long?
Free 99. No need to jailbreak it. No 5-finger discounts. Just go in and eat.
You don't need Cody. You don't need any of that stuff. It's absolutely free. So you can hang out with us here on the Fast Break on YouTube, Roku, or Fire TV, and HBCUGameday.com as well. All right, so we got more Fast Break coming up next week. You got a big game on Monday, right? No sleep for you. What are you looking forward to?
Oh, yeah, I'm heading down to Columbia. I'm going to check out Benedict and Morehouse, going to my first SIAC game of the year. So,
that was overtime last time they played, too.
Yeah, overtime. I think it was a 1-point win by Morehouse. So I'm really looking forward to that. During football season, I'll say Benedict had the best concession wings that I had all season long. So, your boy's looking forward to going back to Benedict and seeing what they're cooking up. But no, it's going to be a really good game. I can't wait to shoot some Tiger hoops. How about you, TC?
Well, look, we have a lot in common because the game I'm looking forward to this week involves Morehouse as well. It's going to be Morehouse and Clark Atlanta. Unless something major changes in the polls that come out Tuesday, this is going to be a matchup between 2 top 25 teams. technically they're two different campuses, but look, if you've ever been to the AUC, it's all one big party. Forbes Arena, Epps Gymnasium is like a half a mile walk on the same exact street. So these kids they're different teams, but they see each other every day. It's going to be packed. You're going to have to get there early, but if you can't make it, look, we're going to have all the highlights for you here on the Fast Break. So it's not going to be exclusively SIAC. That might get a lot of the shine this week, but everything that happens in the CIAA, the MEAC, the SWAC, NAIA over at Tennessee State, we're going to be on top of it. So hang with us here on the Fast Break here at HBCU Game Day. It's been a lot of fun in the studio, Wally. I'll talk to you later this week, man.
All right, Tyler.